Hey guys, Steve here. Today I got kind of a final look at the Yamato for you. Takagi on the screen, you got Uncle Jojo and Andy Cunningham inspiring him. But the test is about to be done here on Sunday, so we won't see the Yamato until the legendary tiers, at least fully introduced later this year, I think they said. So probably, my guess would be end of 2020. But getting back to Takagi, a lot of people are always asking me what his base trade does, and I was not 100% sure. Now I'm pretty sure I figured it out. Broadly speaking, without getting into the game mechanics too much at the moment, there's two types of damage. There's damage that you take that's healable, and there's damage that you take that's not healable. And I think the higher Takagi's base trade is, the more damage transfers from the unhealable category to the healable category. Not 100% sure about it, but that's basically what I feel about it. So for instance, fire damage, flood damage, that's all healable. Citadel damage, most of that's not healable. So the damage that gets classified as not healable, I think partially becomes healable due to that trade. We're playing the gap between A and B here on North this game. This is a kind of a high-risk position. A lot of times the people that spawn north or south of B, for whatever reason, players don't like to capture B. They're afraid of it. And they usually bug out east or west and support those flanks. And usually people tend to view A as like a really good fight on this map just because it's mainly open water and there's a lot of ships over there usually. So a lot of those times those ships on B will come over here, and then you can potentially find yourself in a crossfire. Gets really uncomfortable as a cruiser. Battleships can deal with it a little bit better, barring rush attacks from destroyers. But just keep that in mind if you do want to play this position. It is nice though if you get away with it though, because these ships you can see that are to the south of A, they're angled towards the main group. So they're, by definition, if they're angled to the north, then they're presenting the broadsides to us. So because we're not getting pressure from any ships that spawn south of B, we're able to push forward here. Initially, I'm trying to hit that Baltimore. I was having a little bit of trouble both selecting him or keeping him selected and then deciding. But anyway, the Yamato ended up just basically sitting still. And I thought I would fire a shot and see what happened. And he gone! And initially, I thought I played this entire game thinking I one-shot that thing from full health. I didn't even notice until I went back and watched this replay that it was just over 60k. But watching it back, there were some kind of shells from another player that kind of simultaneously hit him. So he did get destroyed from one, full health to none in a matter of less than a second. But it was not 100% me. Kagero, you saw, popped up, so we're trying to angle towards the suspected torps. Just trying to get a shot on the Iowa, as I'm assuming we're dead at this moment. Kagero does not have torps here, though, so that's going to allow us to take one more shot here. We're going to push into the Kagero. My guess is what happened, he probably blind torped the B when he was going in there to capture it, and he might be in between his reload. Shots away on the Iowa, and he gone as well. And you can kind of see the power of getting these flanking positions in the battleship, especially a really strong battleship like Yamato. Battleship players sniff out these flanking opportunities. It just baffles me when I see 3 or 4 battleships clumped up into a ball. That's wasting the strength of your ships. Your durable ships that, when you get into flanking positions, can kill anyone. And so you want to work in conjunction with your other battleships and kind of spread yourself out between those, and that'll force those enemy ships to choose one or the other to angle towards, and then the other player will have access to those juicy broadsides. So right off the bat, we effectively clear out A with a little help from our team. They got that Baltimore, luckily. So that side's all good. I'm kind of wigging out now, though. There's nobody in B, and the Kagero's still on the loose. And if I was that guy, I would just suicide rush me, torp me from 2 feet away. And there's not a lot I could really do about that. He could potentially, one-shot me from 2 kilometers away, and there's not a lot I could do about it. Do get the HE loaded, though. We're turning in again, suspecting more torps, and we do fire where his last known position. Hit him pretty good there. We do have a hipper that's supporting us. I've been calling for him on the radio, and we'll continue to do so. But I need him to get in there with the sonar. The hipper is basically the best cruiser that we have right now in terms of sonar, getting in there and fishing those destroyers out of clouds. So I don't know if he already used the sonar or what's going on, but But that play that the Kagero made, I want to point that out. You see how I had to turn... I was initially angled towards those 3 or 4 ships to the southeast, which is how I want to be angling in terms of protecting myself from gun damage. But because that Kagero launched those torps, I was forced to turn in towards those torps, and then those ships now have access to my broadside. And so as you get better and better as a destroyer player, you want to kind of create your own flanking opportunities, and instead of getting the citadels, you know, barring shots in like cruisers or whatever. But my main point is, rather than thinking about accessing the broadsides for the purpose of hitting them with citadels and getting gun damage, you want to get them to angle their ships towards you and then flip their ability to protect themselves on its head, because those ships really wrecked me pretty hard there. Not a lot of choice though. You can't take torps in the battleships. That's obviously the bigger threat. But did I need to charge the Kagero? No. That's a bit of a reckless play. I was hoping for that German cruiser to help me out a little bit more than he did. But nevertheless, we got rid of him. And I was kind of thinking, all right, I've done my job. We got rid of a Yamato. We got rid of an Iowa. And if I can get rid of this Kagero, then if the team wants to lose the game, whatever. You know, sloppy play. Not the way I want to be thinking about it, but it does happen there. Here we're kind of disengaged, so I'm trying to wait for that heal to cycle through here. You see we're really low on health. So I tried to sneak a shot in on that Otago when he went by there earlier, just to see if I could dev strike him as well, due to the fact he was going to be presenting broadside. But right now we're just kind of playing slow. There's no rush to move forward. I don't want to get spotted. I don't want to be the closest ship to them. I don't want to be an attractive target until that heal's up and running, and you know, that'll put us back in the game a little bit. So you guys will have to let me know what your experience has been. I don't think the Yamato's guns are that effective long range. I mean, in terms of reliability. You can say that about all battleships, I get that. But 15 kilometers plus, a lot of times I'm getting like 10, 12,000 damage. I'm not getting a lot of those 40, 50k dev strike type shots where you're just wrecking ships. Even broadside Yamatos that are playing kind of poorly like this guy is. Still, we're going to take the shots, don't get me wrong. You still want to be adding the damage. But in my experience, playing, you know, within 12 kilometers or closer, that's when the guns tend to shine. Japanese battleships are all kind of like that. They have this paradoxical thing where the guns work at long range, but they get better the closer you are. But the armor doesn't really support it for really close range battleship play in a lot of cases. So you kind of got to be able to read the game with these types of ships and just really figure out how early I can push in. Here, because that ship's the only one who could potentially shoot me, and he's not really paying attention to me. I could have pushed in there maybe a minute, 2 minutes early or whatever. But you got to be able to judge how many threats are there out there that can potentially hit me, and then if I move forward, does that change or not? And that wouldn't have really changed there, so maybe a little bit slow moving in here. But you'll see this one, these will be, you know, 13, 14 kilometer shots. Not a huge difference, but we'll get better results here. And I'm not saying judge the gun's performance just on this 2-3 minute exchange, but you can just see, I mean, here's an example of them working better. This next play, we're going to try and set up a double strike, I believe is the name of the medal. But you can see the back gun is catching up. We've had it locked to the left, trying to get it in position to fire. That was mainly to get in position to fire in this Yamato, but Otago is on the left now. He's in position, and that gun has access to him. So we're going to blast the front two. That's a kill shot on that Yamato. We know that. I'm trying to line up the Yamato or the Otago here, fire that back gun, and because we had the gun lock in play and it was in position, we had that shot available. And had he not dodged, he did a good job turning away and dodging there, but had he continued sailing forward, there's a pretty decent chance we could have got that double strike there. So if you're trying to get that medal just to get it, it's one of the cooler medals to get in my opinion, so it's kind of fun to try and set those up. But you get extra XP for your games, credits, all that stuff, so it's just a good medal to get in general. But that's a good way to set up that play for battleships, and that was, you know, 100% pre-planned going into that sequence once the Otago appeared in the position that he was in. So as this game winds down here, this is kind of my thoughts on Legendary Tier. You can let me know what you think, but I hope when it's implemented it's going to be like a Tier 8 or something you have to grind through all the previous ships in. Basically what happens as you go up in tiers is the ships become more deadly and less forgiving. So the newer you are to the game, the more trouble you're going to have at higher tiers. And that's going to be exacerbated dramatically. If we have games where every ship is the same quality type of a ship as the Yamato, there's not a lot of room for errors playing these ships against good players who know how to do well in them. And it's just not going to be fun for the new players, and it's not going to be fun for the players that have a lot of experience that might be looking forward to Legendary Tier being, a place that's really challenging and a good place to test your skills. So I'm not begrudging anyone for playing this event. I assume they wanted data from all players, and it was meant to be mostly fun, and just a chance for everyone to test out the Yamato. And it was, if you guys had as much fun as I did in the ship, you probably enjoyed it quite a bit. So, but I'm not begrudging anyone there. I'm just saying it's going to work better, in my opinion, if it's the equivalent of a tier 10 or just the upper echelon tier in whatever this game, however many tiers this game's end up having. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, and what you think about the Yamato in general now that the event's coming to a close. And if you did like the video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well consider subscribing, because there's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. And we'll see y'all later. Alright, peace.